If you're wondering what exactly is going on to XRP, Bitcoin, crypto, all our coins right now, make sure you watch this video and make sure you press that like button right now. So the long story short is that there is a massive amount of fear right now as we speak over a company called Galaxy Digital. Now, what exactly did they do? There's basically a lot of fear that they are dumping a lot of old coins onto the market. And if I open my Twitter right now, there's only two things which I'm seeing. One is just the massive amount of fear going around, all the crazy amounts of people that got liquidated. And two, it's the sheer amount of Bitcoin that these guys are planning to sell or basically are selling right now. And even though I personally don't see this as a fearful event, I am not selling my coins based on this. And it's basically just an old investor who bought really early taking profit. Who gives a crap? Like really, who gives a f? So here's the story. Note that Galaxy Digital has deposited over 10,000 Bitcoin, $1.18 billion to exchanges in the past 8 hours. The 10,000 plus BTC comes from a Bitcoin OG holding 80,000 BTC, or about 10 billion 𝗕𝗁𝗀𝗀𝗃, which is insane. And that is as a response to an earlier message where again those Bitcoin were basically moved around. BitLord here had an interesting opinion. He said, these coins were purchased and used to manipulate the price, meaning they are hugely short and need to cover. If the market absorbs the dump, then they will be forced to 𝗕𝗂𝗪𝗋 or risk liquidation. There is some different theories going around though, that this is all being moved purely to make the market afraid. This is basically what people call manipulation, where again, now a massive $8 or $9 billion, $9 or $10 billion are being moved around, not because they really want to sell, even though that could also be part of it, right? Because it is an old address. It's a whale all the way from back in, what, 2010? But it could be so that this guy had intention. And maybe it's not one guy, it could have been a company. And one thing a lot of people also do not realize is that it could have been a huge company who bought these old coins for a premium, for example, or an old investor who sold them OTC to another party, and that was the middle transfer. And now they have a new strategy for it. Again, there's 1,001 different options we've got, but I keep realizing for every single sell we've got right here, there's also a buy. And if an old investor who bought at $1 wants to offload a couple of $1 billion, is that negative for crypto when you really start thinking about it? I don't think so. I mean, if I were to believe Twitter, this is like one of the worst events we've ever seen. Mostly because the price just kept going down and everybody's talking about 𝗕𝗪𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗃, the guy behind Galaxy Digital, who, by the way, is also a pretty big XRP supporter nowadays. And for the funniest thing of all, his Luna tattoo. Yeah, if y'all do not remember, Luna went to zero. Anyway, having said that, a lot of people have entered survival mode, where you're basically struggling to keep it together, to not sell your coins. And Sauls had an interesting opinion. He said, in the past 24 hours, and I kind of agree with this, I felt hope, then despair, then hope, again, excitement, matter of fact, thrill, euphoria, and then fear, complacency, anxiety, anger, and despair. I lived an entire freaking cycle in less than a day because over the past 24 hours, the market went down. Ooh, things were not looking good. All of a sudden, throughout the morning, things are looking good again. My coins are, I'm so happy. And then all of a sudden, right back freaking down. Right back down, double down, matter of fact. And then people started pinpointing two things. One, just the sheer amount of people who got wrecked today. It was insane, which was kind of interesting because the price didn't really go that much lower than yesterday, except for Bitcoin. And they also pointed out that Galaxy CEO 𝗕𝗪𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗃 said just a little while ago on CNBC, he said, I think ETH probably has the chance to outperform Bitcoin in the next 3 to 6 months. And the reason that is so funny is because just after he went on CNBC to say, I think Ethereum really looks a lot better here, his company decided to basically sell tens of thousands of Bitcoin, right? So there was some funny irony in that. If you want to see the video.
An Ether micro strategy of sorts in terms of a leveraged bet that other people are going to be able to buy into. Also, everything's getting tokenized. We've talked about stable coins. Right now, if you could buy Ether or Bitcoin, which do you buy?
I own both. Listen, Ether's caught up a lot. It feels like if ETH takes out 4,000, it goes into price discovery. And so we feel kind of destined to at least knock on the 4,000 ceiling a few times. the narrative of Ether is really powerful, and the market was really short. And now we have not just, one, we have two major ETH treasury companies and another one coming, and they're raising capital every day and buying Ether. And so there's not a lot of supply of ETH. And so I think ETH probably has a chance to outperform Bitcoin in the next 3 to 6 months.
And before we move on, there's actually an interesting project that you might want to get to know about, and it is called Soulbound TV. Already live and running for a while. You can see it basically is a sort of mimic, is the best way I can call it, a redone and hopefully better way of content, live streaming, everything of that sort. They state in their bio, decentralize your television, next-gen live streaming, the largest on-chain streaming platform built on Base, together with agentic AI entertainment platform. And again, the whole idea there being a decentralized version of a lot of the platforms that you already know, powered by their SPX token. They'll obviously allow you to do things like agent trading, micro betting, tipping, daring, voting, subscribing, and more upcoming features that are probably in the works. And honestly, like real talk, if we're talking about what the next generation of streaming and content and entertainment is going to be, it is going to be something of this sort. Now, it is extremely difficult to penetrate this market, as many different platforms have tried. And again, it's so hard because people do not want to switch over to them. Then again, one of them has to eventually succeed. And it's either going to be one of the main platforms like YouTube, etc., going the decentralized route. Another little bit that was going around today that sparked a lot of interest for people was that one of the co-founders of XRP and Ripple was moving some XRP. And I go back to my earlier statements of, if you, for example, bought Bitcoin at $1 a coin, and you want to sell them at $120,000 a coin, and somebody says you shouldn't do that, what? Like, what are we talking about here? A person could have turned $10,000 into $10 billion, and you're going to tell him not to sell anything? And the same here for Chris Larsen, the co-founder of XRP, co-founder of Ripple. If he wants to move his money around, he's a multi-billionaire, millions or billions of dollars worth of Ripple stock, billions of dollars worth of XRP already sold, billions of dollars worth of XRP left. He can do whatever the frick he wants with his money. If he wants to go move it around, who gives a crap? I still don't get why people make it such a big deal if people that have a lot of money are doing something to it. Jeff Bezos is selling Amazon stock. You think he's doing that because he thinks Amazon is going to zero? No, he still wants Amazon to do really freaking well. He's got a ton still to sell. But essentially, I also think about it like this. People like to sell to move on with to different things, to new ventures. Maybe this guy wants to become a freaking astronaut and he doesn't care about holding all of his XRP, I'm talking all of it, all the way towards the highest point ever. And again, I don't think we can judge unless we're in the same position. Let's say again, you've turned whatever your starting capital was, your $1 million that you started your new company with, into $20 billion. Now, there can be people out there who say, you know what, you should actually not sell that much because it could be worth way more. It could be worth $2 trillion in the future. But then we look back and realize, it's $20 billion right now. If he wants to sell like a quick $3 billion and keep the rest going, yeah, makes a lot of sense to me too. I wouldn't judge you too much. Anyway, people were asking about my trades. We're still doing pretty comfy. Matter of fact, thus far, if we just kept this freaking 305, man, our levels are holding up really, really nicely here. If we just kept on long into 305, it's funny how this could have actually worked out quite nicely. Drawdown was very, very minimal, not even 0.5%, while the upside was more than 1% each and every time. Anyway, I bought some more XRP, as you can not fully see, but anyway, bought some more XRP today. Also bought some more Bitcoin, also bought some more ETH. I've just been buying a bit of everything here. And the bots are still doing pretty beautifully. If you also want to take a little look at that, all that stuff is linked down below. And I should add that this is again the time, and I've said this before, I'm not a financial advisor. I never make any guarantees to you. Never will I ever make a guarantee. Nothing I say here is financial advice. It's just my opinion. I'm just making a funny video right here for educational, informative purposes, whatever. Just want to put a disclaimer in here. But I keep saying it. This, in my own personal opinion, is the time to risk it for the biscuit. Aguila Trades was wrecked for 720 BTC. $83.3 million. From being down 35 million, then clawing back to a 3 million profit, he's now back even deeper in the red with a $36 million plus loss. And that makes me realize, to be in a $36 million loss plus, You first gotta have $36 million. And then I realized also, I'm always proud of my positions. I'm kind of proud of how we're doing it. And then you look at this freaking account size and you realize, damn, right? This guy, 40x leverage, 150 mil. Now, one counter you could argue now is, you see, if you go a bit too crazy on the leverage, this is what can happen. But I want to also counter it again by saying this guy has been the #1 in the world for many months, many years in a row. And really, when you start thinking about what got him there, it's just strong freaking conviction. And even though sometimes you may get slapped in the face, I still think that soon enough, we will see this motherfricker back on top, being up a couple $100 million. Because again, funnily enough, all it takes is one good trade to make it all back and more. And again, it points out now, even people with probably hundreds of millions of dollars can get wrecked, even in a freaking bull of a bull market. Anyway, all that, I still keep looking back to it thinking, this is all just simple, plain manipulation, because they want you out. James also had an interesting opinion on it. He said, what's happening right now, market makers have dumped BTC. Creates panic amongst long leverage traders and just general retail/weak hands. Right now they are buying your alts as some of you are selling because you see BTC price decline. This is the transition between Bitcoin season and altcoin season. BTC dominance is dropping despite Bitcoin's decline in price. Usually alts will follow and dump harder, but they haven't. Game on. And to get to that point, ETH indeed, it's holding up quite nicely. If the market was overall bad, we would have probably indeed seen ETH back at like freaking 3,300 right now and everybody crying. But we're holding up a little bit too good for this, put on pressure to the market. I personally think this is a nothing burger, but as I've told you a ton of times already, I'm just continuing on with my strategy, screw what everybody else thinks, and that's about it.